This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief has been brought to you by Casual Game Revolution. Casual Game Insider is the world's premier magazine dedicated to casual board and card games. Now in their 6th year, they are an amazing source for reviews, trade show coverage, and the inside scoop on your favorite publishers. Find out more at casualgamerevolution.com/magazine. And thank you for sponsoring this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Keep in mind that the music for this upcoming story runs a little long, 2 minutes, but bear with us, this is a great interview.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Days are turning black, water dries and earth will crack.
The land of Kilforth is a perilous domain filled with nefarious monsters, mysterious strangers, and treacherous locations.
But in my dreams I hear a song.
At the heart of Kilforth is the Sprawl, a huge city where intrepid heroes begin their journey to fame and fortune. Over the next 6 days, a deadly gloom will descend upon Kilforth, through which the heroes must battle to prove their worth. Defeat primordial evil, ancient, and save the land. Apologies to my fans, as you'll be able to soon tell, that audio clip and my telling of the story, which you'll find out soon enough, in no way reflect one another. Hopefully you won't hold it against me. Anyways, if you want to find out how the real music and the real story goes, go no further than the first clickable link on the podcast notes, and you'll be able to find out for yourself. Now enjoy the episode. Okay, sound familiar? Well, that was the story of Gloom of Kiforth, Fantasy Quest game expansions, a new game on Kickstarter. And tonight we're lucky enough to have on Tristan, who is the designer and mastermind behind that. Is that correct, Tristan, or how do you fit into it?
Yeah, that's right. I designed the game, yeah.
Awesome, cool. And it looks like at the time of this recording, you're almost at 3 times the funding goal, it looks like. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's doing great.
There you go. So welcome to Getting Geeky with Game Relief. I appreciate you still coming on with the little guy, even though your Kickstarter is doing amazing. So we appreciate that.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem. We're glad you can make it, and with the time difference and whatnot. So let's go back a little bit before the game and whatnot, back to the beginning maybe. How did you get into board gaming, Tristan?
I've been playing board games since I was a kid. I've been a geek all my life. Probably the biggest impact game I can remember was my mum and dad bought me Hero Quest for Christmas one morning, and opening that up absolutely blew my mind when I was a child, with all the miniatures and fantasy adventures, and the game was just something completely new to me, and it ended up running me down a path of picking up all these sort of 1990s Games Workshop games like Blood Bowl and Space Crusade and Dark Future and all those kinds of sort of miniatures heavy adventure games.
Cool beans. So currently, at the current time, besides Gloom of Kiforth, of course, do you have a current favorite game besides that?
The thing with our group is they're always chasing the next shiny, so there's always new games coming up, and probably if I'd say I had a favourite game of all time, it'd probably be Through the Ages by Vlada Chvátil, the Civilization game, just because of sheer number of plays. I've played that through the online app on Board Gaming Online maybe 300 times, and I'm an addict for Civ games. I played a lot of Civilization as well on the PC when I was growing up.
Cool beans. So now I'm kind of new to board gaming. My wife got into it with Kickstarter and all the different games like quite a few years back, and then last year I kind of fell in love with it when I played what was it? Cool Mini or Not. It's a pirate game. It leaves me right now.
Rum and Bones?
Blood Rage, maybe. Yeah, I think it was Blood Rage. That's kind of when I fell in love with it. But let's see here. So going on with that, let's see here. So I've never heard of it. Well, I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it. What can you tell us about Through the Ages? So if there's any other non-geeks or people who are trying to get geeky along with me, that they could know more about it.
Right. Okay. Well, it's a gamer's game, so it's probably not an entry point game, and it's been really highly rated on Board Game Geek, for example. I think it's like the number 2 game of all time. So you play as a civilization, an entire civilization. So you start off with pretty much cavemen, and you take them literally through the ages, through card play, and moving your chits around and increasing your resources and your economy and everything, and bringing them right through to the present day. So developing and advancing technologies and building new buildings and growing your people throughout the history of humanity, really.
Cool.
So it's epic stuff.
Well, there you go. Cool. And what kind of, you said civilization building, or what kind of mechanics do they use in that game?
I suppose the biggest thing, the whole game is based on like a tech tree, which is probably one of my favourite sort of ideas in gaming. Where you start out with relatively weak and ineffective technologies, and you replace them over time with better and better. You're constantly upgrading what your warriors can do and what your buildings can do and what your people can do. And so, you might start off with a couple of warriors, and then by the end of the game, or you could advance them to knights and then into tanks and sort of build them up that way so that they get better and better with each evolution. So games like that with tech trees always make you feel like you're advancing and you're doing something. In each turn you're kind of achieving something new, and you feel like you're advancing in the game and maybe taking the narrative forward in giant leaps.
Cool. Now, have you used that mechanic in any of your games you've created, or is Gloom of Kiforth, is that the first game you created?
Yeah, Gloom of Kiforth's my first game. It doesn't have... Well, it does have a little tech tree mechanic actually in it. Yeah, you start out as basically a hero with nothing but 1 gold piece in your back pocket, and you wander out into this world that's being slowly engulfed in this gloom, this sort of destructive gloom that's spreading across the world. And in this environment, you have to grow as a person, as a hero, and you go on adventures, you meet people, you enlist allies, you gather artifacts and magic, and you basically level up. You become more powerful as the game progresses. And the way that that's reflected in the game is you sort of develop these skills. So each time you complete a chapter of your saga, which is like the story of your hero as he progresses through the world, each time you complete a chapter, you level up effectively, and you gain access to a new skill, and those skills get better and better until finally, by the end of the game, hopefully, you're in a position to be able to find out what evil ancient being is causing this gloom to spread across the land, and hopefully you're powerful enough to try and take them on and like finish them, basically destroy them, so that you can stop this gloom from spreading over the world.
Cool beans. So, and it's not the actual game on Kickstarter. It looks like an expansion. Is that correct?
That's right. Well, you can get the original game on there. We kickstarted the first game back in 2015, and it landed this year. It was a really long development because we had nearly 300 unique images in the game, so it was really important for me to have like just a really beautiful looking game. I'm quite an art whore, I'll pick up a game off the shelf if it's got a beautiful cover, and so I wanted that sort of shelf appeal as well as hopefully a really immersive gameplay. And the game landed this year. We sold out within weeks, really. So this is an attempt to sort of get the game back out there to people who perhaps maybe missed out the first time around, and also to introduce some expansion content. So what we're doing, the game is heavily based on sort of the cards that the encounters that you meet as you go through the game. So the expansion is going to add loads of extra content into your existing copy of the game, and as I say, also give other people a chance to catch up if they missed it the first time.
Cool beans. So let's see here. What have you found? Are more people getting the game, or are there a lot of people getting the expansion, or what have you found on your Kickstarter? What is the majority of people doing?
It's looking, it's kind of like an even split, really. I mean, we've got loads of familiar faces. We've been really lucky to have a brilliant community of people who've supported us from the outset, and most of them have turned back up to pick up the expansion content and expand their current gaming experience. But it looks like we've got almost an equal amount of people who are new to the game altogether and are looking to jump in either by just buying the core set or buying the game and the expansion at the same time.
Cool. So if somebody wants to just buy if they're new to it like I am, what would be to get the base game? What does that run somebody?
Okay, so that you would be looking for the just Gloom of Kiforth pledge, which is literally just the game. So that's £48, which I think translates to about $64 in the US.
Yeah, that's what it says on your page. It looks like cool beans. So let's see here. Yeah, so where'd the inspiration from Gloom of Kiforth come from?
Okay, so I sort of had a hiatus from gaming whilst I was a teenager and sort of going out and doing what teenagers do and stuff. And then I rediscovered gaming back in my 20s, so about 15 years ago, after I'd settled down and got married and got a house and all that business. And I was sort of browsing the internet, and I stumbled on a game called Arkaham Horror, which is a sort of Lovecraftian cooperative board game. And it kind of hooked me back into the world of gaming. And after playing that, I remember thinking it would be amazing if there was a Dungeons and Dragons version of this game where you could be a hero in a fantasy world. And, I used to play role-playing games in Dungeons and Dragons as a teenager. And I guess I kind of missed that, but I don't really have the time to sort of get involved in the time investment that it takes to sort of run an ongoing role-playing game. So it sort of struck me that if I could rediscover or rebuild a kind of Dungeons and Dragons epic fantasy experience, but condense it down into one evening, then that would really be the sweet spot for me. So that's how the sort of the genesis of the idea came about. And then after that, it was years of working and tinkering on the design and sort of tweaking it as we go and ripping it up and starting again and eventually sort of knocking it into the shape that it's in today.
Well, there you go. So going along with that, during play testing, which it sounds like you had plenty of, was there ever anything that you had to scrap because it just wouldn't work for your game?
Oh, yeah. I mean, going back, the game was in development about 8 years before we hit Kickstarter. So the early iterations, I had really big ambitions, and I had to sort of strip away bits and pieces as we went along, because otherwise the game would have run to 10 or 12 hours per session instead of 1 hour per player kind of thing. And the one of the first mistakes I made was the characters, instead of leveling up incrementally, went from 0 to hero like almost in an instant. The tipping point in the game was once you'd gathered everything that you needed to complete your quest, all of the level up bonuses and all the skill bonuses kicked in at once. So you went from having 4 actions every turn to having 8 actions and all your skills and all these cool powers and everything. So even just sort of parsing that down into just a steady incremental increase to make the game sort of feel a lot more staggered and more chapter based, was a huge turning point. And I guess every time a new mechanic was introduced, there'd be a moment like that where you're like, oh yeah, no, this is how we're going to make the game work. So playtesting was absolutely crucial, and I was lucky enough to have hundreds of playtesters all over the world sort of download print and play copies of the game and go through that and really help me tweak it as much as possible to fine tune it and make it the best play experience I could deliver.
It was inspired by a role-playing game, so it sounds like your kind of things have changed in your how you play games and whatnot. So during that, let's see here. So yeah, sorry, my daughter Princess Leaf is wondering, would you mind if she joins us on the interview?
Not at all. Go for it.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, just going along with that and playtesting and whatnot. So you had people playing all over the world. So it looks like it's kind of like a role-playing game, or was inspired after one. So is this like a one and done game, or is it like you can come back to it over and over again and do campaigns, or how does that work out?
Yeah, so what we found with campaign games in our group is we love them in theory, but every week we end up playing something different, or there's a different player count, so we never sort of get to sort of complete campaign games. And so this is designed specifically to be finished in one sitting. So you'll go from that experience of starting out with next to nothing and becoming like a superpowered over the course of like one evening or one sitting with your friends and family or whatever. And so that whole experience of like an entire Dungeons and Dragons role-playing campaign is condensed down into one sitting. So yeah, you'll play the game to completion in one go, basically.
So do you have any other games?
Do I have any other games? Yeah, so I designed a completely different game called 1066 Tears to Many Mothers, which was also on Kickstarter, and it's a 1 to 2 player card game that plays a lot faster than Gloom of Kiforth. This is something you can play on your lunch break. So the idea for 1066 Tears to Many Mothers came about after watching people play like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and these sort of collectible card games where children would sort of, or players of any age really, will memorize the stats of these magical creatures and sort of mystical animals and weird things. And it struck me that wouldn't it be cool or wouldn't it be interesting if, whilst they were playing this game, instead of memorizing the stats of a Pikachu or something, they were actually learning a little bit about history. So 1066 Tears to Many Mothers is based on one of the most momentous battles in British history in 1066, when the Normans invaded England and took the crown from our king, killed the king, and took over the country. So every card in that game is based on a real person or a real event from history, and it's obviously a hugely abstracted version of history because it plays so quickly, and it's a card game. But it was a very different sort of design and gameplay experience from Gloom of Kiforth.
Wow, I really like that. That's cool, where they can learn history right along with it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it'd be an interesting idea sort of thing, and it seemed to have tapped into a little bit of a zeitgeisty thing because we got 2,500 backers, and it really sort of seemed to get sort of traction, and I think that appealed to people a lot. And also trying to make history look more interesting and attractive by having these, again, beautifully illustrated cards to help sort of get across the theme and the history of the period.
Cool. Now it says you can, there's a link to late pledge on that 1066 game. So is that something you can still buy then?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's still in development. The artists are putting that game together, and that's hopefully going to be delivered very early next year. So it will be available to either late pledge. You can late pledge through the Kickstarter page, and after the Gloom of Kiforth campaign's finished, I'm going to try and make sure that it's also available in the pledge manager there as well.
Talk about the part of the game of going back to Gloom of Kiforth that you're most proud of, Tristan.
Right. Okay. Do you know what? It sits outside of the gameplay, but it's the music. My wife is a composer and a pianist, and throughout the course of designing the game and just at home, I'm lucky enough for us to have a grand piano, and she plays all the time, and she plays absolutely beautifully. Her mother was a concert pianist, and so I suggested to her really early on, because she was sort of playing all these themes whilst I was designing and everything, that maybe we could work together and she produce a soundtrack for the game. So it's not integral. It doesn't drive the rules or the mechanics of the game, but Francesca, my wife, has put together this gorgeous piano soundtrack, like a full album's worth of music, inspired by the themes of the game about the gloom spreading across the land and the hero's journey and all these kinds of epic, heroic, Lord of the Rings style fantasy adventure themes. And that's available as a free download with the game. So you can put it on whilst you're playing and really sort of immerse yourself in the world of this sort of fantasy game that we've created. And what she's put together, I think, is a stunning achievement, because we don't have the studio equipment to syncopate the notes or auto-tune it or anything like that. So every track that you hear in the album is played live, or has been played live, recorded live, without any alterations. So there's, I think, 14 tracks in the album, and each one of those have been played hundreds of times, to get it to the point that it's at. And so yeah, it's just like an extra sort of incentive bonus for anybody who really wants to get into the spirit of what we've created, to add that extra level of immersion to the game.
Wow, that's the first I've heard of that.
Did you like making the game?
Yeah, no, it's. I don't think you can make games unless you're passionate about it, because it's so complicated and it can be such a frustrating process that you could be set back if you're not careful, and you can be put off if you get harsh criticism about like the design, if bits of it don't work and that. And if you're really passionate and you enjoy making it, then you'll just jump over those hurdles and keep ploughing through. And I found it a sort of challenge mathematically to sort of get the mechanics working, but also I found it as a really cathartic creative process, because for me it was like writing a book. There's over 20,000 words, I think, of narrative in the game, like on the cards and in the stories and everything. So it felt like writing stories, and that's when I was a kid. All I wanted to do was write. I wanted to be an author, and compose another sort of Lord of the Rings, I guess. And this is my sort of way of doing that. It's engaging that creative process, and it was a really thoroughly enjoyable process, and it was really great to see that it tapped into the community, and people have taken the idea and run with it and supported us. And so it's a really sort of fulfilling thing to do, and it's been a fantastic experience.
Cool, yeah, it sounds like it. And going back to the soundtrack, that sounds like an awesome thing. And so you said you can get that, like when you pledge and get the game, you can get that for a free download. Will that have to wait until the game is delivered, or can you get that straight away?
No, we'll be sending out those links to backers as soon as the campaign's finished.
Cool beans. And let's see, so this isn't your first rodeo. You said you're just barely finished delivering the actual game to the first people who backed it. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. There was a huge demand from distributors and people who missed it to jump in and get a copy. And in fact, I took 10 copies for myself out of the 2,500 that we sent worldwide to the backers and everything, and those 10 copies went straight away. So I literally don't have a single copy that I could sell to a friend even. So it was apparent that we needed to sort of run the print run again and get some more games out, and Kickstarter's the perfect platform for that, because you're directly targeting the people who want the game, and they can choose. They can either get the game plus all the expansion stuff, or they can just get the expansions if they've already got the game and they're playing that and enjoying that. So it's the perfect platform for someone like me, an independent designer, without having to go through a publishing deal or whatever. A few years ago, Gloom of Kiforth was actually in the hands of a publisher, and they had it for over 2 years, and the development on that was very frustrating, and I was constantly chasing them for updates, and they were like, well, we've got these other games that we're trying to produce and that. So after a couple of years with them, we had a discussion about it, and they said it could be another 3 years before we get around to developing your game. So you can either wait, for potentially a total of 5 years, or you can have the rights back. And so I took the rights back, and that's how the Kickstarter campaign came about in the first place. And it feels like one of the best decisions I ever made.
I bet they're kind of sad about that now, looking at it.
Well, I could only speculate.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So that's good. So let's see. I know you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I know the other one took a while, but so when would if people back this, when would they anticipate getting the game and or the expansion, depending on what they decide to do?
Okay, so the game itself obviously has already been produced, so we have all the print ready files for that. So that's a case of sending it to the printer again, and they will run it off, produce it, ship it out, and then we can send it to backers worldwide. So we've estimated it's probably only going to be a few months. We could potentially get the original core set out to backers in early next year, but the expansion stuff will require all of the artwork doing and the print ready files, so that's going to take a little bit longer. So we can either do it in two waves. You could, if you're really eager, you could pay maybe a little bit extra on the shipping to get the core set out early next year, if you want the game and the expansions, and then the expansions will ship out probably next summer. Basically, it'll just take a little bit longer to get the expansions ready.
Cool. So if you do back the expansion and the game, you can possibly get the game first and then the expansion when it's ready. Is that how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you wanted to save a couple of bucks, you could wait and have everything shipped to you all in one go in next summer.
Maybe you already went over this. I don't remember. So if we were to sit down and play the game, how would it look? No, this is actually a podcast. How would play sound like if we sat down to play the game together?
Do you mean like what would you do in a turn sort of thing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So you can either play it competitively, cooperatively, or solo, and it's for 1 to 4 players. It takes 45 to 50 minutes per player to complete the game. And so you start out in the middle of a map of 25 cards that are all put out in a square, and in the center of these of the map is the city where all the players start, the sprawl city. And so each hero will set out from that city to go on an adventure through mountains and forests and badlands. And each time they move out onto a new card, onto a new location, they'll have an encounter there. And so you will use your hero's abilities, which like your stats, your fighting ability and your magic ability, and all these different stats to try and overcome the encounters that you meet. So when you move into a location, you draw a card, and depending on the type of location, the mountains, for example, are more dangerous and will be filled with monsters, whereas the plains and the settled lands will be filled with people like strangers that you can go and talk to. So the type of encounters you can have, you could try and enlist a stranger to become an ally and actually join you on your quest. Or if things go bad, negotiations fall apart, you might end up fighting with that stranger. Or you can also go on quests. So you might have to rescue a missing child or save someone from deadly poison. Or you can find these ancient places. So the land of Kilforth is this hugely historical place, this world that has all these ancient ruins and shrines all over the place. So you might stumble across a healing well or some a thieves guild that you have to infiltrate and sneak into. And you have all these little sort of narrative vignettes each turn. And so each player has a number of actions each turn equal to their current health. So the less health you have, if you're injured, for example, you can't achieve as much in one day as somebody else who's fully healthy. So you have to sort of manage your actions and your health as like a resource. And then when you meet encounters and you try to overcome these miniature stories and these objectives, you use dice to resolve the encounters. And then once you complete an encounter, you get a reward, and you use these rewards to build your hero. They could be spells or items or allies, and they make your hero more powerful and more potent as you're traveling through the world, and better able to deal with the encounters that you meet until, as I said earlier, you become powerful enough to find the Ancient, which is the evil being that's causing this gloom to spread. And then once you've found them, you have a big showdown, and it's like a final battle to save the world.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds really fun. That sounds awesome. People are going to be frustrated to learn that you're on a podcast right now, because it looks like, if I'm looking at this right, that you've just they don't show up that way, but it looks like you've just unlocked the 2 stretch goals that were locked previously.
I need to update that image, don't I?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And then we got to figure out what's going on with the 75,366 pounds. Is that what that symbol is?
That's right. That was the target from our last Kickstarter campaign. So that's sort of a mystery stretch goal. If we can unlock that, it'll be a bit tastier than the other ones that you can see.
Oh boy, yeah. So it looks like, yeah. If I clicked on it, because going on the Kickstarter page, it looks like if I hover over that, it looks like you're at 62,797 pounds pledged out of the 27,000.
It's just gone up to 967. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so let's see here. Now, yeah, so that sounds like a really fun game. And let's see, per se, somebody's been driving around. Let's see, actually, it looks like Princess Leaf might have a question.
Did you have to redo it?
Did I have to redo the game, do you mean?
Yeah.
Between this and the previous Kickstarter?
Yeah.
No, it's going to be the same game. It's the same rules, the same structure and everything. Because this Kickstarter also has the expansions in it, and the expansions are designed to plug in to the existing game. So nothing changes rules-wise. It's still the same as the original version of the game.
That just makes it bigger and better, huh?
That's right, yeah. So because each time you play it, you'll have a different experience, the way that the counters emerge. By adding the expansion in, you're adding more encounters and more variety. So it's just looking to give you that sort of deeper, more immersive experience, basically.
Well, there you go. So, per se, somebody's fallen asleep and almost ran off the road because they got bored of my voice. It wouldn't be because of your game or your voice, especially your accent. I love the accent. Sorry, before I get on with that question, where are you from? Where are you located at?
I'm in England, in Manchester, north of England.
England, okay, awesome. So over in the UK.
Very rainy Manchester.
Cool bean. So yeah, per se, somebody's almost gone off the road because they got bored of listening to me talk and ramble on. Why should they take a chance on this game on Kickstarter, especially with all the games out there on the Kickstarters?
Excellent question, and we've put as much information about the game up there as possible, and I'd strongly urge anybody who is interested to watch some of the playthrough videos. We've got some fantastic videos from Onestop Co-op Shop, Rolling Solo, Ricky Royal and JPlay, where they go through the game in detail and go through all the moves so you can see exactly how it plays, and you can see if it's the kind of game for you, and make that decision, make an informed decision, because as you say, there are tons of brilliant games out there, and I hope ours is worthy and it goes toe to toe with the competition. But yeah, do your research and have a look and see if it's something you might be interested in. I think we've got one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen, and I can say that because I didn't do the art myself. But it's I think it's an interesting game, and it does stuff that no other games do, which is why I designed it, because I was looking for that complete sort of fantasy adventure experience, and it didn't really exist. So the game was kind of born from that, wanting to play this kind of game, and there not being one available. So if it sounds like something you might be interested in, come and check it out, and check out the Kickstarter. We've unlocked loads of stretch goals, as you mentioned before, so we're sort of adding as much quantity and quality to the game as we possibly can. And it's an exciting ride.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like it. So yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, we'll make sure we leave everything in the show notes so they know they won't have to go ahead and type everything in. They can just click on the links, hopefully, and whatnot. And my wife recently introduced me to watching videos with Rolling Solo, so I'll have to definitely check that out myself as well, because I really seem to like what he does on there. Yeah,
he's great. He's done a really spectacular job, I think, of going through it and go through the rules and everything. So yeah, I'm really lucky to have people like that just support the game. It's great.
Cool. And should we should we listen for you to be on any other podcast,
I'm happy to be on podcasts if people will have me. And to be honest, I've not really had the time to arrange as many as I would have liked, but yeah, I'm open to be on them, but I don't think there's... Oh, no, there is. Somebody got in touch with me a couple of days ago. I didn't get his name, but we're arranging something. I think tomorrow I'm going on one. This is terrible. I can't remember the name of it. I do apologise.
Oh, boy, is he over there, over the sea, or whatever we would say?
No, he's US as well, so it's going to be another crazy timing issue where I'm either up at midnight or, up at first thing. It's 6:42 over here, so I'm not used to the hour of 5 o'clock, and I'd like to thank you for introducing me to that earlier time.
You're welcome. Our pleasure, I guess. Yeah, we're actually having to stay up later too to do this, but glad we could work it out with you. So let's see here. The next section on our podcast is Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an application, whether it be a tablet or a smartphone or a video game or even a computer application. It doesn't even necessarily have to be related to board games. Is there an application that you use a lot of, Tristan?
Yeah, well, I am a big video gamer, to be honest. I've got a PlayStation 4, but to be honest, the biggest app that's consuming my time at the moment is on the iPad. It's called Comixology, and it's basically allows you to read digital versions of comics. And I used to love collecting comics many years ago and fell out, of that pattern. And occasionally read a graphic novel if somebody suggested it to me, like if a friend lent me a copy of Watchman, I'd read that, but never really got back into it in a big way until I discovered this Comixology app, and you can just pick any comic that you can think of and either download it issue by issue or just download the whole graphic novel itself and just read it on your iPad, which is great because I've been able to catch up with stuff like Preacher that I missed out on years ago. And get closure on these old comics and graphic novels that everybody else has read and I haven't.
Well, there you go. Yeah, there you go. They're going back in time and then catching up with everybody else. That's cool. Yeah, I'd have to go check that out. So is that something that we would have to, and I know you said it's on the iPad, or I imagine it's on Android too, but do you know if does that application cost anything, or does it cost per download, or how does that work?
Yeah, the application I think is free, and then you pay for your content. So, if you're downloading Watchmen, for example, it will be, I don't know, $20 or $30 or $10. So you're literally paying for the comic, for a digital version of that comic or graphic novel. So I guess that can be dangerous, if you don't, because it's so much easier to spend money on the internet. If you don't watch what you're spending, you can end up downloading quite a lot of comics.
Yeah, for sure. I know our son, Snackleaf, he has autism, and if we end up leaving a charge card on our Amazon account, he will go ahead and go on a video shopping spree.
A binge.
Yes, pretty much. Luckily, they're pretty good to work with us to refund it back to the card, but yeah, if we accidentally leave that there, he'll go on a binge and get as many movies as he can.
I imagine that could be a steep learning curve the first time you get that bill.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, but they're pretty good. Luckily, they work with us. So, is there any kind of subscription service, or you're just pretty much paying for whatever comics you want to read?
Yeah, no, you just pay as and when you read it, and it's really simple, it's just like a buy now, read now button, I think it is, and you just click that, and all of a sudden it's downloaded into your iPad, and you can just read it straight away. So, yeah, it's a really user-friendly app, and just allowed me to get back into comics, because like if I go into a comic shop in real life, I don't even know where to start. There's so many of them. So it's been a nice way to sort of get back into that as a hobby as well.
Cool bean. So let's see, do you have a favorite comic on there? I know you said something about the Preacher. I've never heard of that, but do you have a favorite one?
I think Watchmen is probably the one that really blew me away. I actually like the movie as well, but yeah, I just thought it was a really clever version of it. Or there's another one as well. There's another series by Alan Moore called Providence, which is based on H.P. Lovecraft and all the Lovecraft stories. And it's very adult orientated, but it's a very clever reinterpretation of Lovecraft's stories, and it sort of mixes them all together and adds a new and unique spin on it. But that really blew my mind by the end of it. By the time I finished the series, I was like, wow. So, yeah, Providence, I guess, would be my favourite current one, yeah.
Well, I'll have to check that out. I know me and my son, Wizard Leaf, he's 14, we were like the Lovecraftian theme and whatnot.
Yeah, probably, if it was in England, I guess it would come with an 18 rating, so it's very sort of adult-orientated, the Providence one. Lots of gruesome imagery and things like that, so I probably could give you a family-friendly recommendation.
Okay, so maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't. So I'll have to check it out first. Thank you for that. Let's see here. So if you own the rights to you call it cosmecology? Is that what it's called?
Comixology.
Comixology. There you go. So if you own the rights to that application, what would be one thing you would do to make it better, Tristan?
Oh, crikey. As a user, I would prefer it if it wasn't as expensive for the comics, but I guess you're actually paying for the content that you get, so you're supporting the artists and the people who produce them. But in terms of like the app itself, I honestly think it's really clever. It learns what you like, so it'll give recommendations based on your reading experiences and stuff. And I'm not really an app developer myself, so I couldn't give you an example of what would make it better, to be honest. But it runs smoothly and it does the job. So yeah, it's a great little app.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Thanks a lot for that, Tristan. So let's see here. So if mine is coming over there, or if they're already over there, because I know we have like 2% viewers over there in the UK and whatnot, like only 53% here in the US. But mine is coming there to your hometown to stalk you there. How would people go about finding you, Tristan?
Right. Okay. Well, I'm actually going to Essen for the first time this year, so I'll be there in person. More of a punter, really, rather than having a stand, just to find out what all the fuss is about and to experience that for the first time. But in the UK, there are various sort of cons and conventions and shows and things that we go to demonstrate the games. And the biggest one, I guess, our version of Gen Con over here is called UK Games Expo. So we have a stand there every year where we demonstrate either existing games or games that are coming down the pipeline. And then there's a few other shows like Aircon and smaller events that we go to support as well.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard of UK Games. Let's see here. I've heard of that because I listened to another podcast, and he's from over there. I think it's Richard from what is it called? We're Not Wizards, and he's had a couple guests on that have gone to that.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's huge as well. It's growing every year. It's like they get double the number of people each time, it seems. And so yeah, it's really sort of taken off. It's a spectacular event to be involved with, really.
Cool beans. And if they don't want to come over there, or if it's too far or too much trouble, how would they find you online and connect with you that way, Tristan?
Well, we try to be, or I definitely try to be as active as possible in the community. So, for example, I read every single comment on the Kickstarter comment section and try to reply to every single person that I can if there's a question or an inquiry. So I'm available on Kickstarter. My tag on Board Game Geek is Ninja Dog, which is so I'm really active on Board Game Geek as well. And we have a Facebook official chat group for Gloom of Kiforth. You just have to search that on Facebook and join in. So I try to make myself as available as possible to anybody who wants to chat about games or comics or movies or whatever. You can just find me online.
Cool beans. Well, yeah, we don't want to keep you all morning. I know you got your day ahead of you, and I don't know if it's early enough where you can get back to sleep. But we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
No problem. Go ahead.
Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Kickstarter Corner.
And who's on Kickstarter Corner with us today?
Batleaf.
And who else?
Princess Warrior Leaf.
Or just Princess Leaf.
Relief.
And Game Relief, that's me. So we wanted to congratulate Joshua for Meet Me at the Table Gaming and his game Frontier, the card game, which just funded.
Testing 1, 2, 3 is not a thing.
That's true, it's not a thing. So we wanted to talk about some Kickstarters today that we have going on. First off, we have D20
slash D30
RPG and DCC dice chain sets. New
D17, D19, D26, and D28. So it's just basically dice.
And they've got less than
48 hours to go, so they'll be done.
Yep, so hurry them back then, and then you can get these cool dice. We actually have a... What?
Mostly they'll be done if we don't publish it soon.
Yes, so they have less than 48 hours when you hear this. And they've already funded. And here's another Kickstarter corner, the Kickstarter game we have going on.
Fish Hermit Games.
Fisher Heaton Games. It's called Intel, and this is going on currently on the Kickstarter. Let's see what's going on with it. Intel. This is where you hack or be hacked. And they're about to fund. They're at 95% of their goal. They have 11 days to go at the time of this recording. And they go until the, let's see here, if my computer will cooperate with me. They go until the 4th of November. So go ahead and back them. It's only $19.
It's so pretty. And I look like this with a jacket, an outfit, and some pants and shoes.
There you go. She told you her wardrobe. And then
We have Full Moon Down and Missy Strategy
it's an
Game.
asymmetric strategy game.
I love dancing though.
Yep.
Like doing
Yep, but this has nothing to do with dancing. It's a strategic tabletop board game in which unique asymmetric factions fight for world domination after the moon crashed to the earth. This is by King Raccoon Games. Yeah, this is a game. You know what this game? It's about if the moon crashed to the earth. You know that?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And they also end the 5th of November. So check them out. They funded a long time ago. They're 100% funded. So help them unlock stretch goals. And then we also have let's see here. We also have Dark Naga Confronting Haster for 5th edition. It's a role-playing game. It's actually a sandbox. Okay, go ahead. What?
Everything that I like is playing, dancing, everything that I like on me.
Oh, cool. And then we also have Angel Blood RPG. This one ends the 9th of November.
So after 13 long years, Angel Blood, the tabletop RPG game, is ready to be unleashed to the masses. It's time for everyone to be a game changer.
So there you go. You have that. They have 15 days to go. They're almost halfway there, and they end the 9th of November. So check them out on the Kickstarters. And then we also have, let's see here, we have Record. Hopefully they'll be able to fund. They're getting right close. Let's see here. They're halfway to their goal. They have 59 hours to go. So if they don't make it, I hope they relaunch. It is a
light guitar
Euro
with a heavy guitar theme. 1 to 4 players battle to become a tabletop guitar hero.
You get 30 awesome picks with this game. So I hope they fund. If not, I hope they bring the game back to us so we can all back it. That's really cool. And then, let's see here. Don't forget about this one. I'll have the music tell us, but give me one moment.
Adventures in Zombie Wood. It's a fun game. A fast-paced, cooperated homage to zombie genre. Finish your movie, fight the horror, and survive to see your film rating.
Yeah, so you're making a zombie flick. They're got their goal. They have 18 days to go, so they're kind of a lull. So if you want to go ahead and back them, they end 11th of November, but you'll get an awesome make your own zombie movie game. So that's cool. Then we also have, let's see, what did we not talk about? We didn't talk about this one. This is called Roadkill Vendetta.
The tabletop game where horsepower meets firepower, with roles and models for new factions, warlords, vehicles, and support units.
And they're at 3,314 out of $29,303. They got 11 days to go. They end the 5th of November. They remind me of Mark McKinnon of Wreck 'em Ruin fame, his new game, Wreck 'em Ruin. Check him out on the Kickstarter as well. And then we also have one I don't want to tell you what it is, but I'll let you listen.
Space Fighter fighting in space.
So Space Fighter fighting in space.
Space Fighter fighting in space.
So tell us about this one, Princess Leaf.
Space Fighter is a 2-player space-themed tabletop strategy game, 30-minute games.
Yeah, so they have 11 days to go as well. They're 8,827 out of 35,000 goal.
Hopefully that they and roadkill people will be able to reach their goal or relaunch.
Yes, for sure, hopefully.
Yes, and say everything on the podcast, and I hope you will see us through.
See us through where?
In my house.
There you go. So you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we can't wait to catch you next time on the
on the flip side.
There you go. She got it right. She nailed it. You all have a great week. Thank you for coming by. Listen to our other episodes and make sure you rate and review us on iTunes. That really helps.
We also need to thank our Patreons.
Well, maybe we can do that later. Or who do you remember?
There's Jennifer Longworth, Ronald Gagand, Dave at everythingboardgames.com.
Axel, Mercedes,
Oinks, and I don't remember anyone else.
And Ethan Ireland. That's about it.
And everything is everything, and nothing is through here.
True.
You're worth it.
You're worth it. So stop by and listen to our other podcasts. And this has been Getting Geeky with Game Relief.
And you're evil.
And I guess you're evil if you're not listening. Or if you're not reviewing. You heard it from Little Leaf, out of the mouth of babes. Or Bat Leaf, out of the mouth of babes. Now, get geeky or stay geeky, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.